Okay, Alice, everybody really likes the new Ignition series, but they love your funny intros. I think maybe we should do one every week.
Wait, every week? That's a lot of extra work.
But people love them. I mean, maybe you could come up with, I don't know, like a shtick. You need a shtick.
A shtick.
Right.
But what are they going to be about? Everybody already knows we changed the name to Ignition.
I'm sure you can think of something.
What about an intro about how we're out of intro ideas because everyone already knows we changed the name?
Feels a bit meta. I think you can do better.
My name is Ellis, like the island in New York.
And I'm Ramon Ray, and I'm actually from New York.
That's pretty cool, and we're here every week to answer your small business sales and marketing questions. Let's get into today's question, shall we, Ramon?
Let's do it.
All right, today's question is from Michelle. I started my life coaching business about 2 years ago. Things are going okay, but I'm having trouble breaking through to a really sustainable income. I know I should be networking, but honestly, I don't like doing it. I've been going to the same few professional groups for more than a year, and I'm not seeing a payoff from all the time and energy I spend there. I thought I formed some good connections, but they keep falling through, and I end up back where I started. I keep hearing and reading that networking is a great way to build your business, but it's not working. Should I give up on networking, or am I doing something wrong?
Wow, that is an insightful question.
I can relate.
I can often hear people saying, Ramon, networking, should I do it, should I not? It sucks, it doesn't suck, and they don't know what to do. But we have somebody very special here who's going to help us answer that question. So today, our guest is Dr. Nadia Brown, who's a leadership coach and a speaker, and she specializes in helping women business leaders. Nadia, welcome to today's show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Welcome.
Nadia, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
All right, so what would your first piece of advice for Michelle be?
I would say, first of all, when you think about networking, don't think about it as work. And so often we think short-term gains, but we need to have a longer view and focus on the quality of the relationship. So that would be the first thing in terms of looking at network, is focus on relationship building. And it takes time. You also have to think about dating. You don't just marry the first guy, I hope, on the first date that you meet. It takes time.
Well, Dr. Nadia, if I can interject here, dating can be work. And networking can be work. So how do you, and I don't want you to lose your other points, but how do you bridge the gap between networking that is kind of work and the networking that's it's building relationships? Can you dive into that a bit more?
Sure. So I think one of the things that happens is when we think networking, we're like, oh my gosh, I have to do this. I have to talk to Ellis, or I have to talk to Ramon. I have to get X amount of business cards. And if I go to a networking event and I don't walk out with, say, a sale, then somehow that was an epic failure. And that's not necessarily true. If I was able to go to that event and meet people where I'm starting to build relationships, I may never make a sale with you guys, but that doesn't mean that you don't know someone who could use my services or products. So again, you think about it, that I may go to a number of networking events and I may walk out without a sale per se, but that doesn't mean it wasn't a good event.
So it sounds like it's also about redefining your goals.
Absolutely, absolutely. Which leads me to my next point, is have a goal when you go into a networking event, but also understand your personality and your style. Like for me, despite the fact how much I speak and I travel and I do all these things and I'm in front of people, I am a true introvert. So it's a little awkward and uncomfortable for me to go to networking events. So that for me, it really does feel like work.
Oh, I can relate, yeah.
And so it's important to understand that. And so again, understanding it's okay for me as an introvert if I only meet 2 or 3 people, but typically those relationships are much more qualitative than quantitative. So I didn't get 50 business cards, but I got 3 cards of people that I could meet with later, have lunch, and really build on those relationships, and that's okay. So understanding the goal. The next I would say is understand the group. Not all groups are created equal. So you have groups where you go and you may get referrals. You have groups where you're going and you may actually be in a community of people that are your ideal clients. And again, you may have groups where you're with your peers and there may be opportunities to leverage those relationships for like joint ventures. So looking at the group and also understanding those dynamics is also important.
So how do you determine what kind of group that is?
One, a lot of times you can tell by doing your homework before going to an event, so you can get a lot of intel based on just going to their websites, asking other people. I think sometimes as entrepreneurs, we get so excited to just get out there and tell everybody about our products and services that we don't take the time to do our due diligence. So pick a few quality groups that help you meet your current business goals and just focus on those. You don't have to go to 50 different networking events because you need time to balance in making sales calls and working with clients. But just understand that networking can often be a long-term strategy, and it's definitely worth sticking with as long as you are with the right groups and have the right goals.
And Dr. Nadia, you mentioned the word introvert. I'm not an introvert. I was born not an
Surprise.
introvert. Yeah. And Ellis, I don't know, are you introvert, not
Yeah,
introvert?
I'm
You
an
are? Okay,
introvert.
I wouldn't know it. You're doing a great job. But Dr. Nadia, talk to the introvert here, because we have a lot of people who may be watching the show who could be on the quieter side. They walk into a room and they freeze up. Or they walk in a room with 50 business cards and they have the same 50 business cards in their pocket.
Yes.
Talk to those people, introverts, how can they be more effective networkers?
One, I would say for introverts, take the pressure off of yourself by focusing on how you can serve the other person. And so if you make it all about them, it takes it all off of you. So if I introduce myself and I ask you questions, how are you doing? How can I serve you? How can I support you? Then you get people talking. It also takes the pressure of what am I going to say about myself? Because typically, naturally, that just comes out in conversation. And then once you have that, you kind of start to move around with the group and do that kind of thing. So yeah, take the pressure off, just walk up and introduce yourself. But then you can start by asking more about that person, make it more about them, come from a place of genuine interest, and let people just talk about themselves. And you'll be more often than not, you'll find that people are like, oh my gosh, how can I support you? You've been so nice and you actually listen to me.
So I'd like to actually talk about something that's in Michelle's question, and she said she feels like she's been at these like networking groups for about a year and feels like they're not paying off. So how do you know when they're not paying off or when you just need to stick with it for longer?
One, I would say when you realize that the group isn't meeting your needs. And for one, I can totally relate. I was in a networking group. I love the ladies. But when I really looked at where my business was going and I looked at the dynamics of that group, I was never going to get that return on my investment, even though monetarily it might not have been a big investment, but the quality of the amount of time that it took for me to build those relationships. So there comes a time when you just have to say, you know what? This isn't working out for me, and I now need to look at where my business is going, and are there other groups that better align with that?
Well, Nadia, thank you so much. I think that was really excellent advice.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
And do you mind if instead we call you Dr. Nadia Brown, can we call you Dr. Nadia, the networking queen Brown? Is that right? Is that what I'm saying?
I don't know if I'm quite ready for that title, but I'll let you know.
You did a fantastic job. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks
Appreciate
for
it.
having me.
My name is Ramon Ray, and that was the Success Lab, and we really appreciate you for being with us today. And if you're an expert and want to be on the show, or if you have a question, they can email.
You can email blog@infusionsoft.com.
Awesome. So I'm Ramon with Infusionsoft.
And I am Ellis with Infusionsoft.